Jackson Radio Show.
Hey fellow patriots, you're listening to the Kevin Jackson Show on KJRadio.com. I'm your guest host, Liz Matory. Please follow me at Liz Matory on Facebook and Twitter. Again, thank you again for connecting with me this time that you're listening. Let's talk about how important it is for our midterms. The only thing I need to tell you is Nancy Pelosi. If the Republicans lose the House, Nancy Pelosi will be our Speaker of the House. That should be enough for any of you who are ever thinking about voting for anyone else to vote for every single Republican everywhere across the country. So Nancy Pelosi actually is from Baltimore. When you talk about establishment, again, I am one of the more anti-establishment people you'll probably ever meet. But funny thing is about her, we think that she's from San Francisco. No, she's not. She's from Baltimore. Her dad, Mr. D'Alessandro, was in an elected position since 1926. He was in the House of Delegates. He was mayor of Baltimore for 12 years, from 1947 to 59. He was also a congressman for 8 years. Nancy's brother Thomas was also a mayor from 1967 to 71. Yeah, he was one of those first good old boys. These are good old boys. She's not only a good old boy, she's a good old chick. That is when you say good old boy, now it's one of those non-gendered words. When you talk about establishment, talk about Democrat Party establishment, Nancy Pelosi is notorious for being establishment. Funny thing about Nancy Pelosi, when I ran in 2016, one of my major supporters at the time was my classmate from school. And I remember calling him up, and fundraising calls are so awkward, right? You're like, oh, can you, contribute money to my campaign and et cetera, et cetera. So he actually cut me a check for $1,000. The first time I ran as a state delegate, as a Democrat. But 2 years later, because I had left, and this was not even by the time I became a Republican, this is when I was running as an independent. He actually was like, no, Liz, I can't support you because I have to have Nancy Pelosi as Speaker of the House. And I'm like, dude, we went to school together. I've known you since you were 9 years old. I'm not going into, what we know about each other, but at the end of the day, when you grow up with people, you kind of understand that, dude, you know me. I know you. And so you'd rather have Nancy Pelosi as the Speaker of the House than support your classmate who's running for Congress. I mean, at the end of the day, it is what it is. It was kind of the first time where I started to really see the partisanism, to whereas, you're not really talking about supporting your friends and your family and all that, but the moment that you leave the Democrat Party, you literally are persona non grata. So when you think about the Democrat House and not voting for Republicans or voting for Democrats instead because of the confusion and the chaos around what they want to create around our president, always remember that the Democrat Party is the older party. It's the establishment. I had said that last week that, the Republican Party has always been the anti-establishment party. We are the ones that have always challenged the system, and the system for the longest time has been controlled by the Democrats. Another thing that we need to be mindful of is if we allow for the House of Representatives, our representative government, to swing to the Democrats again, let's not forget the DACA takeover. Do you guys remember, this chick, she's not a chick, but Nancy filibustered our House of Representatives for the purpose of what? For illegal aliens. I understand they're children, they're not children, they're 25 years old now. But, she's never closed shop for any of the rest of us. any of the issues like I talked about in the first hour, the crime and the degradation of, our urban communities. She didn't halt and worry and cry. I mean, do you remember when Chuck Schumer cried? I think it was a year or two ago. Mind you, when I get sad, I definitely cry, and I get angry. I get really upset. But grown man, senator of New York. I mean, waterworks, dude. It was so fake, right? Anyway, I digress. The other issue that we got to worry about if the Democrats take the House is that they are super cronies. A lot of them have been in office my whole life, if not since I was in college or in high school or what have you. And, when you are in that office for so long, you sort of get A, really comfortable, and B, you end up being beholden to not just your voters, you're more so beholden to special interest. And when we hear special interest, as you know, as longtime conservatives, but we have to remember, it's not just unions. It's not just teachers. It's also government contractors. It's also, the big guys who create the regulations to protect their hold on, their market share. A lot of the regulations that, the overgrowth of regulations, I think they're thousands and thousands of regulations that have been brought up in the last 8 years during the Obama administration that the Trump administration is trying to get rid of. A lot of these regulations are placed by lobbyists who are representing the people who are already incumbent companies in all the various different industries. And again, a lot of folks, especially the young folks out there, have really, unfortunately, the capitalism that they're familiar with is crony capitalism. It's not pure capitalism. Mind you, we really haven't had pure capitalism because it's very hard to have pure capitalism, but the corrupted nature of our economics, I articulated in a communist purview, kind of bastardize, as said, our economy. So the folks that kind of are really disenfranchised and disgruntled about how our economy is now, it's really fundamentally, it's not about traditional competition. And if anything, it's about the barriers of entry for the competition that are, again, falsely placed by the incumbents or the people who are already have a bigger market share. They just want to protect their market share that they already have. The other thing that we have to worry about if the Democrats take the House in 2018 is the collusion stuff and the corruption. I mean, guys, if we didn't have the president of the United States, Donald J. Trump, win in 2016 because we voted for him, we wouldn't have heard about all of the collusion, the actual collusion that the Democrat Party has done, not only to their own donor base. I mean, they basically lied to their own donors, took money that was given during the primaries and gave it to one candidate. Again, we're going to talk about, Hillary Clinton later. But that corruption, the collusion, the lies, the abuse of power, all of that stuff was by the establishment, and yes, the Democrat side of the establishment, unapologetically. So if we lose the House to Democrats, they become the heads of all these committees. They'll be the head of the judiciary. They'll be head of the Ways and Means. They'll be head of everything. They won't be investigating themselves, guys. So that is another reason why we have to fight tooth and nail to support good Republican candidates through their primaries all across the state. Again, if you want to run for Congress and you think that you have a good, clean, solid, case to make, run as a Republican. Contact me directly if you want to know, because I'm doing it myself and here in Maryland. But at the end of the day, we cannot let the Democrats take the House. This guy who might have won in Pennsylvania, that's one guy. Their side wants to destroy us. We have to step up to the plate. If you want to run, as I said, do it. But don't give up, guys. We cannot, act as if this is a done deal. As I said, people like Nancy Pelosi, this is their politics technically is like their family business, guys. The Democrat Party, their business is politics. Their business is corruption. Their business is collusion. Their business is cronyism. It's not about the people anymore for them, and we all know it. So we need to call them out when we can. We need to run against them when we must. And this is the time that we have to take up our proverbial arms, meaning our voices and our votes. We're going to hit you back in another. We're going to talk about the leadership styles of Donald Trump. And it should be interesting. Hang tight.
Kevin Jackson
on the Black Sphere Radio Network.
Do you owe back taxes to the IRS or state? The secret to avoiding the IRS nightmare is to seek professional representation. My friends at Security Tax Associates provide the most cost-effective and ethical representation in the industry while helping to avoid seizures, levies, and wage garnishments. Security Tax Associates is here to ensure that the appropriate steps are taken to permanently eliminate any possibility of future tax burdens once and for all. For a free, no-obligation consultation, contact Security Tax Associates, 844-779-4177. That's 844-779-4177. 844-779-4177, or visit them at securitytaxassociates.com.